Welcome back to The Loop. Today we have two nice, lovely interviews and just some chit-chat between us. Let's keep it short and sweet. Justice, we went to prom. That was talked about in last episode. I wanna hear about your prom experience.
Okay, I had so much fun at prom. Like, I think that's the best school dance I've ever went to. I thought it was really hype. I wish there were a few slow dance songs, but that was really my prom. What about yours? Because I know you won something.
Yes. You're looking at the Adams prom prints. What can I say? Yeah, that was pretty nice. I won a nice little crown. Got a sash that said prom prints. And basically just means that I'm more cooler than you now.
Whatever. Are you gonna hold on to that sash forever? Is it already hung up in your room right now?
I peaked in life when I got that sash. I don't think anything in my life's gonna be greater than that moment.
Why didn't you bring the crown to wear?
I should have.
I have the knockoff Burger King hat, and you have the real crown.
Yeah, it's metal, real diamonds. So yeah, I think from every episode carrying on, I'm gonna wear that crown.
I think that sounds like a great idea.
It is. It's a great idea.
If only I won, but it's okay. My goat, Becca, she won. So.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, you won in my heart.
Wow, thank you. That might be the kindest thing I think you said so far.
Probably is.
In your life.
In my whole life, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And, well, I feel like we've been rambling, but this is an episode I really want to get just diving into. Mm-hmm. So coming up, we have Major, is one of our boss's,
mentors.
Mm-hmm. He really helped AISD kind of get out there into the world. And then after that, we have Laney Mars, however you want to call her. And she's been to state many times for UIL debate. She's one of the brightest people I know. And that comes up after Major, and then we'll be saying our goodbyes. So that's the layout for today's episode. Hope y'all stick it through. And we can't wait to see you.
Yeah, can't wait to meet Laney Mars too.
Yeah.
Heard she's a lovely lady. All right.
Lovely, lovely gal. Yep.
All right. We'll see y'all then.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, welcome back to The Loop. Today we're here with
Major Litton.
Any relations to the armed forces, or
no relations to the armed forces? Family name. So it's been in the family for a long time. It was a last name, but ultimately it became my name. Yeah. It's my middle name. In fact, when I signed in today, they used my first name, which is Robert. That's my dad. He went by Robert. So I was always stuck with Major.
Yeah. Well, Major has a very powerful name, and, well, you're a very powerful man yourself. You know a lot more than me and my boss know about all this AV stuff. So I just want to get in rolling. So currently, you're working at Daystar, right?
I work as a contractor for Daystar, yeah. So I come in and consult.
Yes, sir. And you've done a lot of setup for all of our AISD stuff. You helped us really kind of push off into that broadcasting zone. So I want to know, throughout your years, how has kind of broadcasting evolved, and how have you evolved with it?
The evolution of broadcasting over the years. Well, I mean, when I first came here and was introduced to the environment of AISD, it was definitely dinosaur level stuff. They had a lot of, tape-based analog type video stuff. And more directly, the way we watched television, like in the 80s and 90s, was kind of a square format. Well, that had transitioned many years before into like what you would know as 16 by 9, a wider format. So that was a transition to be made with the equipment they had. Whatever they bought now would have this wider aspect ratio. So I was kind of right in the middle of that with them as they transitioned from square to rectangle. And that's kind of how that worked.
Mm-hmm. And so you've been in loads of different markets all over the world, interviewing presidents to prime ministers of other countries and just wide scope of stuff. Can you give us one of your favorite like memories out in the field?
You know, traveling always produces just the fact that you're in a foreign country kind of makes them for interesting things. But I think more than anything is when you're in that environment, technically, you have to adjust to, you know, what is the electricity of the particular country you're in. Typically, that's 50 hertz instead of 60 hertz, like here in the U.S. So if you're not careful, what you shoot for B-roll or cover of a project ends up being stroby. So there are little technical things to know about it. So a lot of my function in traveling is acting as a producer. I also shoot and edit, so understanding the technical end comes into that part. But more directly, when you're creating a story and traveling, being a producer, you just have to be ready for whatever comes up. As to individuals that interview, I mean, you can imagine around the world event-based things that have particularly, you know, well-known speakers or things of that nature, like even presidents of the U.S. and other places. All of that is pretty much circumstantial to whatever event or project I'm involved in. So some of the more recent interesting things are probably the Middle East and being over in the United Arab Emirates. And part of that orientation was having a subject that was out in the desert. So what you don't recognize about being in countries like that, again, more or less what I was referring to as technical things, is also the understanding that the environment and the limits that are given or put on you when you're in a foreign country like that. So you have to get permits. You have to work with, typically they want you to hire people in the country, kind of like a union. So all these little things come to play. In the particular case of doing a desert shoot, and we did hire somebody there in the UAE, happened to be American, and he was able to easily move around. He was familiar with the land, so that's another important part of having people that are there to do that. And then more directly, the permits that are needed to do that, he, again, possessed all that. So there's a little bit of a clue there from a producer standpoint of identifying what's needed at the most cost-effective way possible, and also the advantage that's gained by somebody that understands the area. In this particular case, I had a guy that's a pastor of a big church there in the United Arab Emirates, and he was Indian by background, but again, what was unique about that was, as an Indian in that country, he's kind of a lower down person. So having me there elevated it to be able to actually get things accomplished, where some of that would be limited by just who you're doing. But you're out in the desert. We ended up getting stuck in the desert. The sand and everything, you don't expect stuff like that. So we had to call somebody to come out, crazy man, and pull us out of the sand. So it's just adventures that happen, again, in a unfamiliar area, like this case, the United Arab Emirates. But I don't mean to even pull a lot of names out of the air, but yeah, just the nature of what I do and the people I'm around, and you end up with a lot of very interesting people. There's always a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that aren't supposed to be on video.
Yeah. And I feel like it's no surprise there's definitely a gap of knowledge between me and you. How does someone starting out like me or someone starting the program here at AISD kind of work their way towards getting somewhere like you, where someone with loads of experience and lots of technical know-how and just kind of in your position?
Yeah. Well, right off the bat, even for somebody like yourself, the encouragement goes to those creative pulses, just the whole idea that you're here wanting to derive some sort of story that benefits anybody that's watching this is a key fundamental to Where you are in time is really just a lack of experience. And obviously you build into it now. Boy, you got me to sit down and talk about stuff. That's a new level of both experience that translates into wisdom that's applied in everything you do. So I think more than anything, I would want to encourage anybody that sees this, that they see it as a creative medium that has the potential to tell a story, and everybody has a story. So what you're doing with me right now is understanding or appreciating the types of things I've experienced that amount to a lot of years, in this case 45 years of being in this industry does give you a lot of interesting experiences.
Yes, sir. I hope I get to kind of fill your shoes one day and get all your knowledge for myself.
Well, you're very kind, and to that extent, no, I don't think there's any doubt. Passion's part of that. I mean, you're already doing or sitting here, not only experiencing how to do something like this, but more directly, this experience builds into what is your passion. And I doubt that you're doing something you hate to do.
Yeah.
You're actually sitting here with just every aspect of how you're asking these questions. Tell me a lot about your interests and where you may go with this.
Yes, sir.
And it may be a podcast type video podcast of this kind. It may be something else. But as you kind of expand and experience the different aspects of what this particular world, in this case, visual technology, you're going to identify some things that you become, more focused on. That makes you an expert. Nobody's spending the amount of time you're spending. And it's already true about what you do now. I mean, managing all these cameras, getting in shape, you had to take this and move it in place and make sure the mics work. And there's a whole bundle of stuff that you already have experience at. I was even observing with your boss the fact that you were already one step ahead and knew what to plug in or what to do where. That comes from your specific interests and the passions you have that are generated by doing what you're doing.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And then just kind of one little, I guess, kind of fun question to round out our interview.
Yes.
So today in class, you talked about kind of the 3D world and kind of where video is going with that. Where do you want to see video in the 3D dimension kind of head towards, and what do you want to see come out of that?
It's funny. It is a different experience. And across the board, there's not a lot of receptivity to it. I mean, sometimes the idea that you're in the 3D world is very disarming to people, and the immersive nature of that is some people can take it and some people can't. So already off the bat with that particular looking into the future, there are limitations to it that, how will that change? Well, given that you were there, you noticed in the different objects I had, one of them was just a pair of glasses. And I think where technology is going is the capability to just put a pair of glasses on, and then what's called mixed reality. You'll be able to do all sorts of things just with your pair of glasses, including watching video. Could be 3D video. It also could be things that pop up like a heads-up display. If you're driving, it may amplify what's out ahead of you, so you don't have to have good eyesight because that'll take the place of glasses. There's just all these interesting aspects that come into play with the idea of putting something right in front of you that's visual and how that translates. So for me, it's more like I'm very interested in what's ahead of us, and I've always been that way technologically. So 3D, 360, 180, the different aspects of how you see on a display these things happening, not only are an interest, but I do have clients that want to do things in that realm. So there are examples of that everywhere, and I expect them to increase. So how prepared am I for that next generation? Well, for as old as I am, it's not that I crave being one step ahead, but functionally speaking, it's a real part of what I do. As a consultant, I come in and help creatively and otherwise see how technology helps somebody. So my encouragement to anybody your age going forward, man, explore those passions. Check out what technology is doing. I mean, we're not discussing a subject like AI. What is artificial intelligence going to do? Well, just in a few years here, I know you've seen or experienced a lot of what's happening in AI. Well, that's going to influence greatly the world that I currently live in. Everything from immersive 3D type stuff, but even in 2D, 2 dimensions, everything that's happening with that. I have a daughter who's a writer for a major corporate structure that does television, and is AI going to take that job away? Is how we shoot with the camera, is that going to change and become just totally AI driven? Where does all that take place? So these are questions that I don't need answers for, but I'm driven by the technological part of it to the extent that, boy, exploring it creatively and otherwise is really a passion I have.
Yes, sir. And I think it's amazing to see, like 20, 40 years ago, the idea of being in a 3D space and being in a virtual 3D space,
Right.
and then being in like a world full of AI seems so foreign.
Mm-hmm.
But now today it's almost becoming the norm.
It is.
Like, who knows, like another 20, 40 years from now, we'll have little holograms in front of us. We'll have, video playing directly from our eyeballs. And I think it's crazy to see how we've developed and the speed of which we're developing. And I really hope moving on in the future, we can all be able to grow with that development.
Yeah.
And kind of not take your job. Obviously, no one can take your job. But
it's not taking a job as much as, again, refining what we do in line with what technology has given us. If you stay in one place, it's going to run right over you. But here I am at my age, it's a continual discovery, which I enjoy. And more specifically, thinking just how can this stuff be used that progressively aids all mankind in very, very interesting ways. It may be entertainment, but it may be more practical, kind of like what you mentioned with virtual meetings. I did a thing with the Oculus headset that involved a person in Singapore, a person in Poland, 3 individuals here in the U.S. spread across the U.S., but all of us were together in one room. We were avatars, and it was very poor representation, half bodies, floating around. But we could interact, facial interactions and hand movement. All of that was on par with what you did, how you moved. And to the extent that it matters, you all of a sudden realize, practically speaking, that, in fact, I've done this with your boss. I don't ever want to come to Abilene. I'm always in Dallas, so I can interact with him in a virtual world. But those things, when you experience them, you kind of figure, well, it's going to be too cartoony. But the reality is it's quite amazing how it does put you in that place. The way you talk, the way you think, all of that becomes very transparent, so you're able to communicate. So that's where we are now, but boy, the future is going to be fraught with those things in multiple ways. So something to look forward to.
Yes, sir. And that was all the questions I had for you today. Is there any final remarks you want to give to the people out there?
I think you ought to take a picture of yourself and then, like 10 years, maybe 15 years away, look at what it looked like when you had hair. You're going to change.
I know.
Do you think?
I want to say no, but I don't know. I've seen my dad. He doesn't have much hair himself. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm fingers crossed this mane stays with me.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Well, it's good looking stuff.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
But thank you for coming out today. We'll catch y'all from this commercial break into another interview with Elena Mars, state district winner for UIL debate. Pretty
Big
smart
time.
girl. But
I wouldn't debate her.
I wouldn't either. But who knows? Maybe we'll throw in a little debate between me and her as a bloopers or something. That could
I
be
got to
fun.
watch. I can't wait.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you for coming out, and
Thank
we'll
you.
catch y'all after this break. Bye.
Love is a lesson that doesn't end. It knows no conditions, so you better buckle in. Love keeps you on your toes. It never stops, only grows. Love isn't easy, it's a commitment, especially when they're being their most resistant. Love is finding the right seat so you can take a breath. But remember, love isn't lax, it always double checks. Check that your kids are in the right seat at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're here with,
My name is Benjamin Scott Stevens, and I'm the speech and debate coach at Abilene High School.
And I'm Lady Mars. I'm the president of Abilene High Debate.
Awesome. Well, it's lovely having y'all out here. I guess I say out here. We met y'all in here, wherever. But could y'all give us a little more background on yourselves?
So I can go first. So I've been the coach at Abilene High in the speech and debate program this is year 5 that I've been doing this. I did speech and debate in high school for all 4 years, and then I moved into just kind of contract work as a judge at tournaments from college through grad school and then afterwards, and kind of thought that I was done with it other than just kind of sporadically here and there going and doing work for people, helping with tournaments. And then 5 years ago, we had an opening in this position. We had had no one do it for a couple of years, and our principal, Amy Cyber, had just started the job as a principal, and I went to her and said, hey, I think I have some students. If you would let me try to start this back up again, I want to give it a shot. 5 years later, this is now, I guess, year 21 for me in the world of speech and debate, so longer than any of you have been alive.
And then as for me, this is my 3rd year in debate. I'm a junior. I joined it my freshman year just because I saw it on the sign-up sheet and thought it sounded interesting. And I knew a few people who were already in it, some of his original students. And I really took to it. I really enjoyed it. And I've now had, what do you say qualifications?
Oh gosh.
Like, I've qualified for state in some capacity every year. And I've now had 5 different national qualifications. In my high school career.
So what kind of got you into debate now?
Well, I've always really liked to talk. And in middle school, I did UIL academic events where I did impromptu speaking. And that's really similar to what I do now through extemporaneous speaking. It's still doing a speech on the spot. And so my older sister was a senior my freshman year, and she had friends who were in this debate class. And they had heard about what I had done throughout middle school, and they had heard that I really was a very vocal person, and I like to talk a lot, and very extroverted, and so they suggested that I sign up for it. And as soon as I was in there, it was very fun, and I just really enjoyed it.
That's really nice to hear. I'm curious though about debate. So I know like all the debate topics are different, but I mean, is there any like kind of topic that you're really passionate about in debate?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on what types of events we do. So I personally do 3 different events. I do one called policy debate, which is partner debate where it's 2v2. And for that one, you have every year, it's just one topic. So every single round for that, you're only talking about one thing. So this year it was about Arctic policy, and it was really interesting.
It's one of the things that, and like from the coaching standpoint, it really leans into what we're kind of proud of in like the educational side of this. Because if somebody does speech and debate, specifically the end of policy debate for 4 years, you're going to spend each year doing a level of deep dive into a topic that you wouldn't normally do in anything, let alone something like this. And so in the 3 years at Abilene ISD policy debate, very first year was about public programs like Social Security and Medicare. Last year had to do with intellectual property rights. And so
I know
this year,
a ton about patents
yeah,
now.
patents and copyrights. And then this year was U.S. Arctic policy. Next year is going to be healthcare in the United States. So it's this thing where students that do policy debate end up with just like a high level of content-specific knowledge in an area that they otherwise would never be exposed to. Like I can't think of any other instance where my students, I'm also an English teacher, where my students are going to have to go that deep into research and just subject knowledge on anything. And kind of what I always pitch to parents and to prospective students is the transferable skill is that once you move out of this, no matter what you do, career and educational path after debate, you're the kind of person who just has this kind of innate ability to deep dive research and to just kind of like download information in relatively short periods of time and then be able to actually talk about it and do something with that information afterwards. It's less like the short-term memory of I memorized this like page of information for a test, and then as soon as the test is over, it's gone. It's stuff that kind of just like stays around. Like Lainey and some of our other students who did policy debate last year are still talking about patent and copyright law.
For example, I'm in AP Seminar. I'm in 5 AP classes this year, and one of them is AP Seminar. And earlier this year, I did a research paper where I got to choose a topic, and I decided to do it about intellectual property law because I already had such a knowledge base in it, and it's something that I became like really passionate about. But then for my other events, Congress and Extemp, those are ones where it changes up more what we talk about, and sometimes you get to choose what you want to talk about, and ones that I really lean towards are more scientific-based ones. Like I love talking about artificial intelligence and policies with that. Yeah.
So you had talked about how a lot of these skills kind of transfer on. What skill do you feel is taught in debate that really pushes your students above like students that don't take debate?
I think the major transferable skill is that ability to just think really quickly on your feet and to access information in really short periods of time. So one of the events that Lainey does, it was the event that I was most successful in when I was in high school, it's called extemporaneous speaking. The basic structure of extemporaneous speaking, sometimes we just call it extemp, is students will draw 3 questions. They then have to, in that moment, pick one question, and then they have 30 minutes to craft out a 7-minute speech answering that question. Depending on which kind of level of competition we're competing in, you sometimes have access to the internet, sometimes you don't. We've got kind of workarounds to make that work for us. But you basically, with the aid of the internet, have 30 minutes to become the expert in the room on any given question. And then what you're being evaluated on as a speaker is your ability to, one, just answer the question effectively, but also to organize it in a way where an audience can follow what you're saying and it's easy to understand and you're engaging as a speaker. I think that's a huge transferable skill because while outside of competitive speech and debate, there's probably not going to be any other instances where you're going to have to pick a question, take 30 minutes to answer the question, and then deliver a 7-minute speech. I've got former students, and I've got friends who did this also growing up, who in all manner of careers and professions, just the ability to, in a short period of time, figure out how to access information and be able to be productive and answer questions about information. I've got friends who work in the private sector who have to do reports very, very quickly, who have to give presentations, who have to go and speak on behalf of their businesses, who have to go talk to customers. And just that ability to do that in a manner that appears polished and kind of gives to your audience, whoever it is that you're talking to, a sense of like calm and security of, okay, we have a person in the room who knows what they're talking about. That's something that is wildly transferable.
Well, I find it like really impressive that y'all can think on y'all's feet so quickly, and I know you're really good at it because you've gone to state many, many times. Do you think you could tell us about state and how last year or this year's went? I don't know if you've already gone.
Yeah, so I've gone to 3 different state tournaments this year.
Yes.
This year alone. At the most recent one, it was TFA State.
Yeah, so
in
the
Prosper.
so the Texas Forensics Association, called TFA, is one of the leagues that we compete in.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that's a little confusing, most people are aware of UIL. That's the one that's probably the most familiar to people. We do compete in UIL. UIL is more of kind of a spring sport for us, so to speak. TFA, Texas Forensics Association, is kind of a year-long process to qualify to state. To qualify to state this year, Lenny had to pick up what are called 12 points. So you have to place at high-level rankings at multiple tournaments to pick up those points just to qualify for the state tournament. And then the state tournament, there's no like entry cap. And so as many people that qualify can go to the state tournament. In the event that Lainey does, domestic extemp, I think there were 88 competitors in that single division of that event that she competed against. And so this year, how did we do?
We got 12th place in the
12th
state.
place overall in the
Yeah.
state, which is very cool.
Also, I think it's really significant for us to point out that, like he said, he got this position 5 years ago, and so our program is still really new. And so one of our main focuses, and what I think is one of our main achievements whenever we're looking at the past 3 years, is that I was his first ever person to like qualify for TFA State. Mm-hmm. And my freshman year, I did horrible. Well, I say I did horrible. I didn't make it out of prelims. Like, I got knocked out of prelims. I did get one perfect score from a judge, which was...
one judge ranked her first in the room.
Yeah, that was exciting.
Yeah.
But then a lot of other judges said she sucked. And then last year I got
22nd overall in the state.
22nd in the
Broke
state.
to quarterfinals.
Yes.
22nd in the state.
And then this year, got 12th in the state.
Yeah, semifinals,
so
12th
we're
in the
seeing
state.
slow improvement, and I think that that's my biggest thing that I'm proud of whenever I look at the past 3 years, is that this program is still so new, and I've done as much as I could to like help build it up and make it.
And you see ripple effects of this. So
Yeah.
my very first year coaching, I had 3 students go to the state tournament for UIL for Congress in January of my first year as a coach. Since then, we've kind of ballooned out. I've had multiple students competing at the state level in multiple events ever since. And so I think that's like a really cool part of our story, is that we went from 3 students who kind of defaulted in, were able to kind of secure this state qualification kind of last minute. And then as the years have progressed, it's just been more people competing at higher levels together. So even like one of the things Lainey talked about, so my first student to qualify to TFA State went her freshman year, went to second time her sophomore, and then this year we took 2 students to TFA State, both of whom advanced to like late rounds in the events that they were competing in. So that was really exciting to kind of watch that success is kind of rippling out to other people. Last year, Lainey was my very first national qualifier. She qualified in extemp to the National Speech and Debate Association's tournament. This year we qualified 3 students to that tournament. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah.
The growth.
Yeah, that's
Growth
amazing.
is good.
Yeah, but speaking about that growth and then kind of just how new y'all's program is, so Lainey,
Yes.
asking you this first. Next year as a senior, where do you see yourself? And then to follow up after that, as a program, where do you see like it going in the next 5 years?
So we were actually just talking about this like a week ago, driving back from CX State.
Yeah.
How like I only have a year left, and so we started talking about goals and stuff. And so obviously, the goal is to make it to state again in all of my events, which I've done so far this year, and then nationals
You finaled
again.
in one event at state this year.
I did.
First time doing that.
Yes, first time doing that. That was fun. That was at Congress State in January. I got 13th, I think. Yeah. So that was fun. And so the goal, we've said this since the start of my sophomore year, the goal is always better than last year.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to fully know what all I want to do next year until this year ends.
Yeah, better than last year's pretty high goals though. I mean, we're doing really good this
it's getting
year.
harder to say better than
That's how it
last year.
should, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a really good motto to stick by too. To always improve.
I think something like better than last year is measurable. That's kind of my general program goal. Is every single year I just want to try to see the program perform at, if not better than the previous year. Now what's hard about that is being cyclical. I have students kind of rotating in and out. Last year I graduated a really big crop of really successful seniors, and so I've experienced, I wouldn't call it a dip, it's just been kind of a growing year that I have a lot of newer students kind of coming into things. It's not like I have people that are in their second and third year competing, coming back and doing stuff. I've got a lot of people in this year that were debate one students who were being very, very successful. And so when you ask questions about like program growth and then later on, my standard for that is kind of this better than last year. The baseline is where we're at right now, but then wanting to go a little bit further than that. Now, generally speaking, what I would probably shoot for, there's some things that I kind of have my sight on. We've never won the UIL title for district speech, and so I want to win the UIL district speech title.
We got close this year.
We've gotten within striking distance the last 2 years, not quite there yet. That would be really cool to get. I missed a team sweepstakes award this year in UIL Congress. I want to get that next year. And then there's a couple of like, we got the policy debate sweeps,
Yes.
but I didn't get the Congress one this year. So it's just stuff like that. I just want to see the program continue to grow. I want to have more people competing in more things. I like seeing students. I've found that when students are more involved doing more things, the ROI is better. Like they tend to enjoy themselves more. When I have students that just are willing to try more stuff, they report more enjoyment in what they're getting to do. And that's even including students who aren't even what you might consider like successful from the metric of like medals and ribbons. My students who are just going and competing more report higher levels of satisfaction with the program than my students who are going to just dip in here and there and whatnot.
And then if you had to describe your coaching style in one like sentence or phrase or word, how would you describe how you coach these students to make it as far as Lainey does?
Coaching style?
Your coaching style.
I've never even thought about this. That's a good question. I don't like it. Because I don't like to think about myself that much. I don't think I would call myself a hands-off coach. I feel like I'm a very hands-on coach with my students that are active in the program, but I don't like to micromanage, and I try to avoid pressure. I think that's what it is. I frequently tell my students there is no pressure. Like, I say things like do better than last year, but ultimately, like to the normal people, none of it matters. Like you have to find something inside of yourself for why you want to do something like this and pursue it. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to get mad at somebody if they do poorly. Like if they actually try their best, because at the end of the day, a lot of the judging on this is very subjective. And so if at the end of the day, like maybe it's a high level tournament, but if one judge gives you a bad rank, that's going to happen sometimes. That judge has some type of a reason why they ranked you behind other people. None of that is a mark on you as a person. And so I think it's a lot of like emotional management of just reminding people that it's important to try these things. It's important to do your best, but your value has not bound up in no way whatsoever in your ability to win at something. I don't know if that's a helpful answer to that.
No, that was a great answer.
Okay.
So, but I don't have anything left to say, Justice.
All I was going to say is I wish you guys good luck in future competitions.
Thank you. We've got regionals in a couple of
Yes.
weeks, and then God willing, state after that, and then nationals this summer.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I know if anyone can make it, it's y'all in the Abilene High debate program.
Thank you.
Y'all have obviously shown that y'all are more than capable and more than amazing to do all this. And it's been an honor talking to y'all.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all. Y'all are great. Thank y'all very much.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, and we'll catch y'all when we come back from this break. Just kind of wrapping things up in a nice little bow, and we'll see y'all then. Bye.
Looking for a hands-on career path with high demand and great pay? The welding program at The Lift gives students real-world skills that lead to real opportunities. Whether it's gates or flatbeds, handrails or heavy equipment, if it's metal, you can weld it too. With great instruction, you can master all 4 major welding processes. So get ready to build a career with endless possibilities and join the welding program at The Lift. It isn't just a trade, it's your future.
Emma, did you hear?
Todd's in the hospital.
Who's Todd? He got a collapsed lung from vaping. He thought it was cool.
Not cool.
Promise you won't vape, Emma. It can lead to a lifelong addiction, and we can't be friends if your lungs collapse.
Bogus.
Wacky sitcom teens aren't the best people to talk to your kid about vaping.
Hey, you got a minute?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping today.
Welcome back, you guys. That was a really interesting interview with Elena Mars. It was so nice to meet her. She had a lot of cool things to say.
Yeah, she's a very wise, I'd say. Very smart. That's what wise means. I don't know why I would use the same adjective. Anyways, very. Speaking of wise, Major was very wise and insightful. I'm glad I got to interview him.
Yeah, I wish I was there to interview him, but I had some business to take care of Friday, so I wasn't able to make it. So I'm really sorry about that.
No, it's fine. It was actually kind of better without you there, if I'm being honest. I feel like we got more work done, and it was very productive. Not a typical shoot.
Okay, I'm gonna remember this. Whenever you need help next time we're setting something up, I'm gonna remember this. Okay.
Oh, okay. But
you think you got prom prince, and now you the king. You the prince. You're not the king. Okay.
But ignoring that blatant disrespect to your prince. So I do want to ask Justice. Easter is coming up. What are you doing Easter?
Normally we just my mom will set out a bunch of eggs and we do a little egg hunt. So probably be that. I may take her costume and dress up as the Easter bunny too, and terrorize my brothers. But that's a maybe.
No, that's not a maybe. That's a definite. Mm-hmm. You have to dress up as the Easter bunny.
Wait, why don't you dress up? Because are you doing anything on Easter? What are your plans?
That's a good point. My new plans are I'm gonna go run around my neighborhood dressed as a bunny. So
I think that's a lovely idea.
Yes, thank you.
That's a whole lot of Easter spirit.
Yeah, I'm very Easter prideful.
Yes, okay.
But that's all we had for this episode. Mm-hmm. Thank y'all for watching. Again, if y'all have anything y'all would like to give input on, maybe a story that y'all want to see, or a student or a teacher you'd like to see interviewed, leave it in the comments, and we'll try to get to it with the best of our abilities. Mm-hmm. And is there any final remarks?
Nope.
Alrighty. We'll see y'all next episode. Bye, y'all.